Check out my sweater. I don't know if you can see or not, but some toaster strudels. No big deal. Hey guys, I know that it's been like a super long time since I uploaded my last video and I'm like really sorry about that. I was hoping that I could kind of do these as I was going through the actual process rather than relying on my memory a couple of weeks later. Or I guess in this case a couple of months later. Yeah, so I had my Interac in-person interview. I know that I was like kind of freaking out about it, but it actually wasn't that bad. I wasn't feeling so hot like before the interview though. I actually had just come back from a trip from Hawaii. It was like a last minute trip and I literally landed the day before. If you guys don't know, the trip to Hawaii is like 11 hours. So I was like really jet lagged and super tired. And like I had a cold the whole time and I was like sneezing and I had like a runny nose for the past week and it was like awful. So anyway, before I start with the actual interview, like I just want to kind of tell you my story. So I woke up that morning at 6 a.m. I was walking to the metro station because I don't know if you guys know or not, but DC does not have the best metro, or rather the most reliable metro system. So I woke up and I felt so nauseous. I was getting ready and I just felt like I needed to like vomit the whole time. Good thing I woke up at 6 a.m. because I actually ended up missing the first train because I threw up 10 minutes before I was supposed to leave. After I threw up though, like I felt so great. I don't know if it was nerves or like it was like residual from being sick, or if it was just because I was waking up so early and like the time difference or what. But like, oh, I felt so bad, but like as soon as I threw up, like I felt like 1,000 times better. Until I got to the metro, that is, which gives me motion sickness, but like I won't even go into that. So anyway, okay, for the actual interview part, my SO's interview was at the Washington DC Embassy Suites. We took the metro in and we walked about 15 minutes to the hotel. It was like really cold because I think it was February. Well, yeah, it was February I think when we were doing this interview, and you know, I had my presentation posters in like this garbage bag, and like I was wearing gloves and everything, but like I was carrying it, and like by the time that I got to the hotel I could barely feel my fingertips. It was terrible. Like, why did winter last so long this year? But anyway, so I was there, I was carrying in the poster boards, I was trying to like blow my nose at the same time because I still wasn't over my cold yet, and like I walked like the mile to the hotel in like those terrible heels. Ugh. I wanted to stop at the Starbucks originally because I was cold and I hadn't eaten anything that morning before, but because we missed the earlier train, like I couldn't make it, and by the time we got to the hotel, I just wanted to warm up in there and like I'm not leaving here once we get here. We got there about half an hour early, but we actually weren't the first people. I was expecting to be like one of the first, but there were about 4 other people who got there before we did, which was kind of surprising. But I mean, Japanese, you know, early is on time and on time is late, if you've ever heard that before. But so we were waiting for a little bit, and it turned out that there were going to be 10 people in total actually. The recruiter came down and she said that normally they invite about that many people, but usually they had like 2 or 3 no-shows. But I guess we're all just like super committed because all 10 of us actually showed up. The ratio was 6 guys to 4 girls, or I guess 6 guys to 5 girls if you count Alana, who was our recruiter. I was actually surprised at how even the numbers were. A lot of the times they'll show percentages and there are a lot more male applicants than there are female applicants. So anyway, like the instructions said, we waited in the lobby until our recruiter Alana got us. She took us to a room, we went up the elevator, and it was basically just a hotel room with like a table and a TV in it. It was supposed to be a conference room, but honestly it was like the smallest conference room that I had ever seen. It was really cool though. I didn't even know that they had those kinds of things. We went through our self-introductions in English. I guess you could do it in Japanese if you really wanted to show off, but I mean everyone did it in English, so you wouldn't, I don't know, be weird just doing it in English. And then after that we kind of just had an informal seminar. Honestly, I felt like we could have done without that seminar. All the information that they presented to you was pretty much the same information that was on their website, and then they send you some informational packets. It was all just the same information, just like rehashed. Okay, I shouldn't say like all information because there was some new information actually. Like, but it wasn't really Interac specific, and you could definitely get those answers from just doing like a quick Google search online or something. However, the number one benefit of this session is that it's a really good time to ask questions. Just a warning though, don't ask too many questions, because I feel like our group got off on like a bunch of tangents that were like completely unrelated to Interac, completely unrelated to like the job. I mean, they were related to Japan, but I mean, you know what I'm saying, kind of? We got off on like a bunch of tangents though, and like that really made the presentation drag out like a lot longer than it should have. We didn't actually finish until after 11 o'clock, and just a reminder, we started at 9 o'clock. There was one break in the middle of it. It was like 15 minutes or something, and I just went downstairs to the hotel buffet and took some snacks because my stomach was feeling a little bit better, and like I just went to the bathroom and all that stuff. It was really interesting to meet a lot of the other applicants. There was one guy in our interview group actually who had applied last year. He made it to the interview stage, the same stage that I was at currently, but he didn't get accepted. He said that his interview actually went by a lot faster last year. They had finished everything, including all the interviews, by 2 p.m. He also kind of made the same comment as me, like all the questions that were being asked during the seminar session, and like everyone just kind of wanted to share their Japan or Japan-related story, and it didn't really relate to what was being presented. You could definitely tell that our recruiter was getting a little irritated with how many questions, not how many questions that were being asked, but the relevancy of the questions. It kind of sounded like people just wanted to show off their Japanese knowledge, and it came off more as like kind of being like a than actually contributing to the conversation. So actually about that guy, like I was really surprised, and like I found it really interesting that he actually didn't get the job just by getting that far. When you're going through the seminar and everything, they speak to you as if you already got the job. For example, like when they're talking to you, it's not if you get the job, it's when you get the job, or when you go to Japan to do this. I guess it was giving people like a false sense of accomplishment, which is kind of mean, but I mean, I don't know. So I thought we were going on a break for lunch after the seminar, but that wasn't the case. We actually had our grammar quiz right afterwards. I sort of knew what to expect by reading other people's blogs and like watching other people's videos, but it wasn't exactly what I was expecting. There's a section where you need to point out the problem area of a sentence. They'll have a sentence and have like 3 or 4 parts underlined, and you actually need to circle what part of the sentence is grammatically incorrect. Then there's also a section where you need to identify if a sentence is passive or active voice. It's a lot scarier than it sounds, like just off the top of your head. Like you can probably tell what's passive and what's active, even if you don't review it or anything. Then there's the dreaded spelling section. Oh. I was expecting her actually to read out the words and then she'd have us write it down or something, but instead there was actually a list of a mixture of both correctly and incorrectly spelled words all jumbled together, and you had to make the corrections as necessary. This actually really threw me off, because you know how when you kind of just stare at a word for too long and then you're just like, is this right? Is this wrong? And then you really second guess yourself. Like, oh well, it's done. And then lastly, there's this big old run-on sentence that you need to punctuate. It's like a paragraph long, and it seriously was just words. You need to add your own like capitalization, punctuation, everything like that, just at your discretion. I don't think anything was spelled incorrectly in that section though. Disclaimer, I'm not entirely sure. So after everyone had turned their forms in, then it was time for the teaching demonstrations. Yeah, not even lunch yet. I was like super hungry by this point. I'm glad I grabbed that banana at the hotel buffet, but like it was not doing anything. My stomach was starting to growl. It was terrible. Oh, before I forget, there wasn't a personality test that you had to take. I was reading and like I heard that a lot of people had to take a Myers-Briggs personality test or something along those lines. I'm not sure if they maybe started to phase that out, since a lot of people actually wouldn't answer their test truthfully. They'd answer it based on what Interac thought that they wanted to hear. They'd make themselves seem more extroverted, for example. Anyway, okay, I feel like this is a good place to stop. I'll talk about the teaching demonstrations and my reactions to some of them in my next video. Hopefully that'll be up really soon. I'm really sorry if there's gonna be like a 2 to 3 week gap or more. between videos. I got like super busy at work. My mom's coming to visit me actually, so like I'm not gonna have any time to record these videos later. I do have a blog though where I kind of try to write it up. I don't think I've done anything for the actual interview yet, sorry, but I do update that blog a lot more often than I make videos, so I think I only have like 2 videos up right now. If you have any questions, please feel free to let me know, just in comments or anything. If someone knows how to set this up so I can get emails whenever I get a comment on a video, like, that would be super helpful. I feel so inept. Ugh. But anyway, yeah, thank you so much. I hope this has been really, really helpful for you, and crossing my fingers that I'll get around to uploading the next one really soon. Alright, see you guys!